All right, welcome back. So let's go ahead and just update all these nodes. So I'm going to clear the screen and sudo apt-get update. And then upgrade after this finishes. So I'm just going to arrow up and hit upgrade. And then we'll proceed to do the same thing on all these. So update. Alright, almost there. Alright, and while these are updating, I'm actually going to pull up Google here and figure out how we can install Ubuntu. So, or not Ubuntu, Docker. So, I'm just going to Google install Docker on Ubuntu. And this is exactly what we need. So we're not going to uninstall old versions because we don't have any old versions. So this is where we need to start. So this will be so we already did this. So this is the first command we have to run. So we're going to run this on all three of those nodes once this finishes updating. Alright, so the update's finished, so let's clear the screen on all these nodes, and then we're going to install Docker. So let's go copy that command again. Copy that. And just run that on all the VMs. Alright, let's check out the next instruction. Run this on all four. Alright, run this. I think there's like 2 more steps. Yeah, run these 2. Alright, almost there. This is the actual Docker install. And then basically the next command, this is if you want to install a specific version, but we don't want to. And next command is just making sure it actually worked. So just making sure we can pull this hello world and actually run it. So let's minimize this and wait for this to finish. Alright, so that finished. Let me just grab that command again because I forget if I copied it. But we just need to run this test to make sure it worked. So clear the screen and just run it, and we should see hello world. All right, so cool. It worked on all of these three so far, and this one is just finished. So at this point, we've installed Docker on all of our nodes, which is a requirement to install Kubernetes with Rancher. So now the next step is to actually install Rancher. So actually get to the point of the tutorial series. So let's Google how to install Rancher. So just Google how to install Rancher, and let's see here. Trying to find the right tutorial. I think this is the document. All right, so we need to go down and grab this command right here. So this is actually going to pull Rancher, the Rancher server, onto our master node. So grab this command, and I'll put this, definitely put this link in the description, but grab this command and we're gonna run it on our master node. And after we run this, we're gonna be able to access that web interface. So on your master, which I have up here at the top, just paste that in, and it's going to pull this Docker image and start the container. So, okay, we need to run it as sudo. All right, so far so good. It's pulling the image. All right, so it finished, and we can just say Docker ls, Docker container ls, Docker container ls. This will show us the container that's running, and we can see it was created 55 seconds ago. The status is it's up. So now we should be able to access the web page. So let's use our IP address for the master, which we know is this. And we're going to open it up in a browser. So just copy that and open this up. And paste it and put HTTPS in front of it. All right, this is so far so good. Cool, so it's up and running. So it wants us to create a password. So I'm just going to make a password. All right, and default view, I'm just going to leave it as default. And uncheck this and check that. Yes, that's fine. Just close this. All right, so here we just have our Rancher servers running. We don't have a cluster set up yet. So you can see here we have that one node, but no cluster. So we actually need to go to add cluster, and we're going to create a Kubernetes cluster using existing nodes. And give it a name. So I'm going to name this, let's just call it YouTube K8S cluster. And this is all good. Next. All right, so the first thing we have to do is we need to install basically our master node. So we need to install these two components. These two components are basically required for the master node only. So it's just giving us the command to run right here. So just make sure these two are checked, and go ahead and copy this command. And we're going to run this on our master node. So let's paste that. All right, so it's pulling some more images. Looks good so far. And then once this finishes, we're just going to check to make sure that it's reflected in the web console. So if I go to the cluster, here we go. So it's provisioning this, and we should reload it. And there we go. So you see our master is currently in the registering state. So I'm going to wait for this to completely register. And then we're going to basically just add our three nodes, our three worker nodes. All right, so this is actually taking longer than I remember for it to register. And I can't remember if we need to have worker nodes at this point. So I'm just going to go ahead and create the worker nodes. I think that might be why it's kind of hanging. So if you, yeah, sorry, I went there without explaining what I was doing. If you go back to your cluster and edit the cluster and scroll all the way down, you'll see this command. And make sure just workers checked and copy it. And then cancel out of that. And then we're going to run that command on all three of the worker nodes. So paste that. All right, so just let those download and install. All right, so these two just finished. So let's check out the web page now. We should see, okay, a couple more items here. And they are all registering. So let's just wait for a little bit here. And you can actually see it's doing a bunch of stuff up here now. All right, so you can see that the master just became active, but these three worker nodes are still registering. I'm just going to give it a few more minutes. All right, so there we go. First worker is active. The other two are still registering. I'm going to guess like 5 more minutes probably. All right, so it finally finished. We have everything active. The node is up and running. But there is one other step that we're going to want to do, and that is to configure something called kubectl, kubectl, on our Linux master node. Or it doesn't have to be on your Kubernetes cluster. It can be just any Linux machine. It's just a tool that's going to let us interact with our cluster, our Kubernetes cluster, from like a command line outside of this web interface. So we need to figure out how to install kubectl. And kubectl on Linux. This is what we're going to, so this is just downloading the latest version. That's what we want. And we're just going to run that on our master node. All right. Okay, so we should have kubectl now. All right. I think I forgot a step here. Let me go back. Yeah, so we need to actually run this command here. So let's run that. Now this, I spelled it wrong, kubectl. This should give us some output. Okay, so now we know it's working. But now our kubectl tool doesn't know about our cluster. It's just a tool that doesn't know what to do. So we need to go back here and grab what's called a kubeconfig file. And I believe it's in this location. Might have to poke around a little bit, but there is somewhere here. Cluster kubeconfig file. So just copy this, and it says right here, put this into this location. So we're going to copy this to the clipboard, and we're going to make this location on our master master node. So let's, if we're not in our home directory, let's just cd to our home directory and make a directory, or sudo make dir .cube, and if you ls, you're not going to see it because it's hidden. So we need to say ls l, I think, or lsa, ls-a. There we go. So you see it's hidden, the .cube right there. So let's just cd into .cube, and now open up a file called config. So sudo nano config, and now we're just going to paste in all that text. Is that the right? Yeah, that's right. Okay, so now just control X. Now we should be able to say kubectl cluster info, and we should see information about our cluster. So you can see it's running. And now if we say kubectl get nodes, this should show us our whole cluster here. So this is what our cluster is comprised of. And that's it. That's you guys have a cluster up and running. Now, as far as what to do with this cluster, that is a good question. That's going to be another video. So like what cool things can we actually do with Kubernetes? Like, why is it actually useful? But the point of this video is just to show you how we can get the cluster stood up and running on a Homelab. So if you wanted to do this on like AWS, you could. They have a service called EKS, but I found that it's prohibitively expensive. It was just, I ran it for like a weekend and it was like $30 and it just wasn't worth it. So that's why I went down this route and set it up on my my Homelab. So yeah, hopefully this video was helpful, and if you liked it, just give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next video, where I plan to talk about like what you can actually deploy on Kubernetes. All right, thanks for watching.